dear students. Today, our topic of discussion is meaning and definitions of psychology and relationship between psychology and education. Before going through this lecture, let's have a look on its objectives. The main objectives of this lesson are to equip students with the meaning and definition of psychology. Next objective is meaning of educational psychology. Third objective, relationship between psychology and education. Dear students, let us discuss meaning and definition of psychology. First point, in terms of the study of soul, according to Plato, psychology is the science of psyche and logos. The earliest attempt at defining psychology owed their origin to the most mysterious and philosophical concept, namely that of soul. Etymologically, the very word psychology means the study of soul, and it is derived from the two Greek words psyche, meaning soul, and logos, signifying a rational course of study. Second point, in terms of the study of mind, what is soul? How can it be studied? The inability to find clear answers to such questions leads some ancient Greek philosophers to define psychology as the study of mind. Third point, in terms of the study of consciousness, the failure to define the terms soul and mind persuaded the philosophers and psychologists for some other suitable definitions. Modern psychologists define psychology as the science of consciousness. Fourth point, in terms of the study of behavior, William McDougall, a British psychologist, was the first to define psychology as the science of behavior. In his book, Psychological Psychology, published in 1905, psychology may be best most comprehensively defined as the positive science of conduct of living creatures. However, in later years, in 1913, J.B. Watson, the father of behaviorist school, elaborated the concept of the term behavior, including in it both human as well as animal behavior, and defined psychology as the science of behavior, taking into account human as well as animal behavior. Behavior generally means overt activities which can be observed and measured scientifically. But one's behavior is always influenced by his experiences. So, when we study one's behavior, we must also study his experiences. Dear students, let us discuss what is educational psychology. It is the study of the psychological aspects of educational studies, which deals with the teaching and learning process. Educational psychology has been defined by various psychologists and scholars. For the sake of understanding what educational psychology is, let us analyze a few important definitions. According to Crow and Crow, educational psychology describes and explains the learning experiences of an individual from birth through old age. According to Skinner, educational psychology is that branch of psychology which deals with teaching and learning. B.F. Skinner, 1904 to 1990, considers educational psychology to be the psychology of teaching and learning. That is, psychology applied in the field of education for improving the methods and products of teaching learning process. Crow and Crow describes educational psychology as that subject area of the curriculum through which one can study the development in terms of his learning achievement during his lifespan. Now, you are familiar with the meaning and definition of psychology. Let us discuss the relationship between psychology and education. Education and psychology are interdependent. Psychology is a broad area in which education searches to give a practical shape of the psychological findings in the teaching learning situation. Psychology had changed the spirit of education and it gives new meaning to learning in classroom. Today, in modern era, education psychology is the foundation of education. Education and psychology is complementary to each other. Psychology is an essential element to education. Without its help, problems of education cannot be solved. Both education and psychology are concerned with behavior. Why we study psychology in education? It is essential for a teacher to teach his students according to their mental abilities. Therefore, for every teacher, study of psychology is an essential element. So, we can say that educational psychology is the application of psychology and its principles in educational situations. It helps us in the following ways. Number 1, psychology and teacher. According to the modern concept of education, the teacher should aim at complete development of the child. This requires that the teacher should have some definite knowledge of educational psychology. The modern teacher is motivated by a desire to make his teaching more facile, attractive, interesting. Number 2, untrained teacher. Without proper training, a teacher cannot understand the psychology of the child and his problems, what the possibilities are, and why the child is not learning. A trained teacher can understand the problem and eradicate it. Number 3, educational psychology and curriculum. A good curriculum is that which stimulates the constructive potentialities of a student and which is prepared according to their needs. At the time of curriculum planning and construction, proper care should be taken for the development rate of the child. Number 4, educational psychology and methods of teaching. A teacher has to give instructions through different methods, which should be linked with psychological principles, needs, and development of the child. If the teacher teaches his students according to the interests and mental development of the students, they will like it and will learn it easily. Number 5, educational psychology and discipline. The problems of discipline can be checked through proper psychological techniques. Psychology tells us the ways of dealing with the problems of delinquent, backward, handicapped, and gifted children and helps in maintaining discipline. It states that discipline should be self-discipline, dynamic, constructive, through proper participation in purposeful activities. Number 6, psychology and timetable textbooks preparation. Timetable is prepared according to the psychological principles. While preparing it, the teacher should keep in mind the relative importance of different subjects and their toughness and fatigue of students. Number 7. Educational psychology and guidance and counseling. Many students have many problems in education, society, and emotions which have to be guided. Psychologists emphasize that every school should have a guidance counselor to evaluate problematic child and rectify his problems. Number 8. Educational psychology and evaluation. The total process of evaluation and examination should be linked with psychological principles. Questions should be prepared taking the normal development of the children into consideration. Educational psychology has introduced different types of tests and examinations and derived scientific measurements for intelligence, personality, education, etc. Number 9. Educational psychology and different stages of growth. According to growth, the personality and mental ability of an individual can be divided into different stages. That's childhood to adulthood, etc. During these stages, the mental maturity is at different stages. Psychologists consider that if teaching process is according to these different stages, it will be easily learned. Number 10. Educational psychology and development of personality. To build up the personality of an individual is the aim of education. To study the stimuli and responses of personality, demerits and their causes in personality, and reforms of personality is impossible without proper knowledge of psychology. Number 11. Educational psychology and social adjustment. Educational psychology has shown factors affecting social adjustment and endorse principles which lead a man to proper adjustment in the society. Learning is the basic topic of educational psychology, from the meaning of learning up to the laws of learning. Different topics have been highlighted by psychology, which have made the process of education very easy, interesting, and pleasing. Number 12. Educational psychology and children of special attention. Physically disabled students have many educational, emotional, and social problems. To lead them to a successful life and to eradicate their psychological problems, psychologists help them to become a useful part of society. Number 13. Educational psychology and innovations. Psychology has made significant contribution by introducing innovative ideas for improving the process of teaching and learning, such as activity-centered teaching, micro-teaching, programmed instruction, interaction analysis. Number 14. Educational psychology and school organization. According to psychologists, a school must have a democratic environment to help the student to develop balanced personalities. The social environment in school can be an effective tool to allow the students to develop a number of qualities such as self-confidence, leadership, cooperation and healthy competition, decision-making, problem-solving, and good citizenship. Dear learners, with this, we conclude this very important topic of today. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. For now, it's time to say goodbye. Stay blessed.